Hey folks, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel where I show vinyl finds and the latest parts of my collection. So why break tradition? Let's do that again. A lot of records to show here, so and it's all over the place as far as style of music. So let's just jump into it. With this one, a new record from Porcupine, a new old record from Porcupine Tree. This is Coda live album from the earlier years of Porcupine Tree, around the time of Light Bulb Sun and Stupid Dream, somewhere around that era of the band, and they just released this live record here. Actually, it was supposed to be, these live recordings were supposed to be part of this album. I should have had this ready. These recordings were made for this album, or this box set I should say here, Coma Divine, or Coma Divide. I think it's Coma Divide. Yeah. Hold on, let me get the bifocals here. Coma Divine. Okay, so yeah, the recordings for this album, I guess they had a lot of leftover tracks or some nights that they recorded for this box set left over, and now we have this album, and it's a very cool album to have because I'm a really big fan of this era of Porcupine Tree, and that's what makes this such a cool album to have. Here's the gatefold. As we can see, we got these earlier looking pictures of the band. So yeah, a really nice selection of songs. We got Signify on here, Dark Matter, a lot of great songs on here. Disconnected Day, though it's incomplete. What's on here is good. Great version of Radioactive Toy, and then Voyage 34 Phase 1 plus other songs. Really cool collection, and I like the sleeves on here with the live photography. That looks really nice. So I'm glad that it was what I love about getting Porcupine Tree and Steven Wilson vinyl. A lot of care goes in the packaging, so they don't just slap it together. They put a lot of care into it, so really nice to see it. And as you can see, it's on red vinyl, and a really great live recording. So when the band was young and hungry, and they sound great on this collection. I'm really glad I have it. As soon as I saw the pre-order for it, I jumped all over it because, like I said, it's one of my favorite eras of the band, very early years of them, and they sound so killer on this 2-record set. It's so cool, so cool. So if you're a fan of that era of Porcupine Tree, you might want to check this out. I absolutely love it, especially the version of Radioactive Toy. I am a fan of that song, but I gotta admit I haven't heard it in a long time, and this was just so cool to listen to. I had a blast listening to this. And as I'm sitting here, it is Sunday night. Come Wednesday, which I believe is the 27th of September, I'm going to see Porcupine Tree live in San Francisco off our current album. So I'm very excited for that. So listening to this is really kind of getting me in the mood for the show. So going to see Porcupine Tree in San Francisco in a couple days. So that concludes the prog rock portion of this video. Now we're going to get into some R&B music. I love R&B music. And another live record, and it's a live record from Stevie Wonder, one of my favorite artists. This is live at the Rainbow Room, New York City, July 13th, 1973. I was 2 years old, 4 days away from being 3 years old. That's how far this album dates back. Good lordy. He has a great band with him on here, and Higher Ground sounds great. Superwoman sounds fantastic. Visions, Signed, Sealed, Delivered, they all sound great. Great vision of Living for the City, which is probably one of my favorite songs from Stevie Wonder. Back in the early 70s, Living for the City. Such a good song. Ends with the very last side ends with Superstition in My Dreams. It's just a awesome live recording. This is a 2-record set, 2 albums. And, both the labels look the same, so I'll just show you this record. And such a good recording. I think this was originally a radio broadcast, I believe. I'm not 100% certain about that. But a very good recording of the band. They give credit to a horn section on here, but sitting through here, I don't remember hearing a horn section, so interesting. But anyway, a great live recording from Stevie Wonder back in 1973. It's when the man was just absolutely unstoppable. He had every album just was a hit album after hit album. The guy is a musical genius. What can I say? Big inspiration to me. To the point where I bought another one of his albums, Inner Visions. Probably my favorite Stevie Wonder album is Inner Visions. Absolutely love this record. And I had a used copy of this album already. But as you can see, this is a Japanese pressing with the Obi strip. I have this thing, if I see one of my favorite albums out there on vinyl with the Obi strip, then I get it, because I love collecting Japanese pressings with the Obi on it. And I got a nice collection of some of my all-time favorite records with Obi strip on it. One of these days I should do a video about it, because I got quite a few of these. This is a fantastic album. I'm sure a lot of you have spun this in your collection many times. It's one of those amazing classic albums. Can't get enough of it. And my God, there's just so many great songs on here. Living for the City, of course, is on here, but so is Higher Ground. Jesus, Children of America ends with the great song He's Mr. Know-It-All, which is one of my favorite Stevie songs too. Such a good song. I remember seeing him on television when I was a wee lad, and I thought he was the coolest musician ever. Still do, actually, but my memories of watching him on television back in the 70s with his band playing live and his backup singers, oh my God, those were great memories. So whenever I think of Stevie Wonder, that's the vision I get in my head of him in the 70s rocking out with his band. This is a fantastic album. It has all the inserts in it. The lyric sheet written in Japanese, or printed in Japanese, I should say. Really great addition to the Stevie Wonder collection. I don't have all his records, just my favorites. And to pull a Japanese pressing of my all-time favorite Stevie Wonder album. Oh, so nice. And it sounds, this record sounds great on the turntable. Absolutely great. Love this album. Absolutely love this album. Alright, now I'm going to show you a bunch of what be classified as old school R&B records. The reason that kind of music will always have a place in my collection is it's the music I was raised on. In my neighborhood, it was all Hispanic and black families here, middle class, and and growing up, these were the songs I was hearing in the streets, blasting out of people's cars, blasting out of people's boom boxes as they were walking up and down the street. The old school R&B, which it doesn't get shown a lot in the VC, but maybe I'll be the first. Okay, one of the big bands from the day was Kool The Gang. We all know Celebrate. It's a pretty common song. But there's also Jones versus Jones on here. Take It to the Top, I always thought was a good song. So I think this album came out in 1980, I believe. I can't believe at one point when Van Halen got back together with David Lee Roth, Kool The Gang was the opening band. I'm not kidding. I always thought that was a strange pairing of bands. It's on the Delight Records label. But from what I heard, Kool The Gang actually won over the Van Halen fans. So, you gotta picture me shocked on that one. But then again, David Lee Roth has always been known to be a big fan of disco and R&B music. He loves that kind of music. I think Eddie Van Halen in an interview once told him that David Lee Roth took him to an Earth, Wind & Fire concert. Can you picture those two at an Earth, Wind & Fire concert? Another one from Kool The Gang. This one's called Something Special. I remember these records fondly growing up as a kid. My brothers and my sister, they would collect albums and 45s, and these and 8-tracks as well. And these two records I've seen a lot in their collection. I think my brother had both of these on 8-track. He would just blast it in his car. Blast it in his car everywhere he went. And it was so Kool The Gang they sold a lot of records back in the day. A lot of records. And anyway, the big single on here was Get Down On It. A really cool R&B funk number. Stepping Out was a good song too, so was a Good Time Tonight. This is a pretty solid album. And this was back in the day when there were tons of R&B bands. There were tons of R&B bands out in the scene back in these days. We were late 70s, early 80s. There was a ton of them, and they would sell 45s. They would sell a lot of records. And I remember seeing them all on Soul Train, because I used to watch Soul Train like every week and loved it. Again, same label, Delight Records. And I brought this up with my brother, because you ever notice nowadays there's no cool R&B bands? It's just, solo artists and rappers. There's no cool R&B bands anymore. Back in our day, there were tons of them. And now I can't even name one. I think my brother said, well, how about Silk Sonic? I was like, it's two guys. It's not really a band. I don't think two guys make up a band. But yeah, I guess that's a good answer, Silk Sonic. But I can still remember back in the day, there would just be tons of cool R&B bands. You can go see them in concert, buy their records. And when they would tour and play the auditoriums here, it would be sold out. I mean, they would draw a ton of people. You'd think the Rolling Stones or something came to town. Another favorite band of mine from back in this day was Confunction. Here's their record, Candy. This band brings back a lot of great memories. Number one, they're sort of close to my area. I think the founding member was born and raised in Vallejo, which is less than an hour from here. So somewhat of a local band, Confunction. I really love this album because it has the song Chase Me on it. Candy's really cool too. And Fire When Ready was another song I remember. Like a lot of these songs I don't remember by name, but as soon as the needle drops and the groove kicks in, oh, I recognize it. Like, oh yeah. Confunction was a real popular band in this area, probably because they were local guys. But I actually got to meet them one time. I got another one of their records. This one's called Touch. This one was really popular back in the day. I remember seeing this album cover a lot growing up. It has the great song Too Tight, which was like an R&B pop song. Oh, it's such a good song. Too Tight. Really good stuff. But this is a really good funk R&B album as well. I think it's the same label. Yeah, I gotta stop showing those labels. Cool insert. Yeah, no, like I said, I got to meet this band because they came to my town. They came to Stockton, and they played at the Civic Auditorium, which is downtown Stockton. And they played it with the Daz Band opening for them. And that show sold out immediately because both bands were like really popular at the time. I think this might have been 80 or 1981, one of the two. It might even been 82, actually. It's either 81 or 82. Forget 1980, 81 or 82, because I was still in grammar school. Anyway, Confunction, here's another one of their records, Spirit of Love. really popular album if you were a Confunction fan. Them and the Daz Band did a autograph signing session at Tower Records here in Stockton, hours before their show. Their show started somewhere around 8 p.m., so around 5 o'clock. And it was, I remember it wasn't advertised all that much. They mentioned it on a radio station the day it was happening. I guess to prevent it being a ton of people showing up there, because it was Tower Records wasn't exactly a big store in my area as far as size, so they didn't want to get a mob over there. Same level, big surprise. Anyway, it was them and the Daz Band signing autographs. Everybody was bringing in their albums, and they were signing the album covers or promotional posters of that show. I think I got a promotional poster of the show from Tower Records, and they were all sitting on this long table. You just make your way down one end all the way to the other end, and both members of bands Daz Band and Confunction were signing autographs, and I got the autograph of most of the players in both those bands, and I was only like 10, 11 years old. And I remember I never knew what Confunction looked like. I would just see this cover and pretty much ignore these pictures back here. So I had no idea who. I heard the name Confunction, but I was like, you know what? I don't really know these guys by face. I love this album. Got to Be Enough is probably the coolest song on here. Great fucking opener for this song. Such a great old school R&B album. So many wonderful memories of Confunction. Unfortunately, they still tour. I don't know how many original members are still in the group. It's mostly maybe one original member and then a bunch of people that are hired to play the music. So every now and then I do see Confunction shows still popping up around here. But, back in the day, back in the, mid 70s all the way to the early 80s, this was a huge band around here. And when they would throw concerts around here, they would sell out fast. Very fast. Another band that was huge around this time was the Commodores. This is their greatest hits LP. Again, another big fan of theirs. This was more of a mainstream band, really. They weren't really because of Lionel Richie singing the ballads. I mean, they originally were a R&B and funk band. And Lionel Richie came on as their sax player, and he wasn't really singing much when he first joined the band. And little by little, as the years went by, he started singing more songs and pretty much became the front man of the band. And they started singing 3 Times a Lady, which is a nice song, and Still, Sailing. Those are great songs, but they were more ballads, and I guess. And Lionel Richie became a star in his own right at that point, and started a solo career and left the Commodores in the dust basically after that. I don't know if they bad feelings when they parted or whatever the story was. I'm not sure. But, and I think the Commodores had one hit, which was Night Shift, long after Lionel Richie left the band, and I never heard anything from them after that. But this was back in the day when they were just hit after hit, Brick House and Too Hot to Trot, Easy, which is a fucking fantastic song. Everybody's heard Easy. 3 Times a Lady. Some great songs on here. They were a good band back in the day. And I never seen them live. I remember they had a concert on HBO, and I thought they sounded amazing on it. And another album from there is Midnight Image. I believe that's what it is. Oh, Midnight Magic, sorry. Midnight Magic. And I basically got this album, for the song Sail On. Sail On is actually probably my favorite song on here, but this whole album is pretty cool. Getting It, Still, great songs. And but Sail On was always my favorite, one of theirs. Great tune, and these guys really could bring some energy to their performances and their songwriting. they were such a fun band to grow up to. I loved growing up on these old school R&B records and bands. Like I said, there's just no more great R&B bands. I think that's a shame, a big shame. This is a 12-inch single from Earth, Wind & Fire for the song I Had Enough, which is on the album Raise. Really great extended version of the song, but I got it for the B-side. And it was for the full version of the song Kool Tree, which was a small instrumental that started side 2 of the album Raise. And on the album, it's a very, very short instrumental, not even a minute long. But on the 12-inch single, you get the full version of that instrumental song as a B-side song. And it's pretty extended. I think it's like about 5 minutes long, and it's a really, really cool version to have if you're like me. I'm a big Earth, Wind & Fire fan. Been a big fan of theirs since I was a wee lad, like these other bands that I showed. And to have the full version of Kool Tree is really cool, because as short as the instrumental was on the album, that was always one of my favorite instrumentals from the band. And I was like curious, like I wonder, what the rest of the song sounded like, because it just sort of faded and it went into probably I don't think it was Let's Groove. I forgot what song it would morph into. And I always made me wonder what the rest of the song sounded like. Well, now I finally know, all these years later. So, real cool reason why I grabbed this 12-inch single. All right, now we're going to take another big left turn from old school R&B to early 80s synth pop. OMD, or Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark, got the 10-inch record or 10-inch single for the song Messages. I once owned this record before, this 10-inch single. I found it in a used shop, and when I took it home, I made the rookie mistake of not inspecting the record, and my original record of this was so badly warped, it really couldn't even play. So I thought, oh well, and the shop I went to was out of town, so I couldn't really drive back there and ask for my money back. So I just sort of kept it, and I thought if I ever see it again in a better copy, I'm snatching it. Well, I finally found a copy of it, because this is a very tough album to find out in the wild. Yeah, you could probably find it online easy and just order it. I like to find things in the wild. I like to go out there and dig and just visit these record shops. And I was so happy to find a very, very excellent copy. It's in great condition and not warped, not badly, horribly warped. So I was real happy to bring this home, needless to say. What else is on here? Waiting for the Man and Taking Sides Again are the B-side tracks on this 10-inch single for Messages. Really great song from OMD. And that's not the only one I got. I also got this one, which is for Souvenir, their song Souvenir from OMD. And on the B-side we have Motion and Heart and Sacred Heart. Might as well say it now before I forget. And again, I had a copy of this originally on a 10-inch single. And I just remember the cover was badly damaged, but the record was fine. So it's kind of nice now to have an even better copy than I had before. There's the label for this 10-inch single from OMD. Really nice, really nice. I love collecting. OMD is one of my favorite bands to collect on vinyl, because they have so many 12-inch singles and 45s. I mean, they released a lot of 12-inch singles, this band did, back in the day, and still do. I mean, when they release their newer albums now, they still release 12-inch singles from them, and on vinyl too. So they're a fun band to collect on vinyl, because there's so much you can find from them. Because back in the day they did so many 12-inch singles, so always makes me happy to collect them. Well, that's going to do it, folks. Just a oddball collection of records from prog rock to R&B to old school R&B and synth pop. But that's my collection good example of what my collection's like. Anyway, drop me some comments. I haven't heard from you guys in a while, and I missed chatting with all of you. Hope everyone's doing good, and yeah, let's talk. All right, that'll do it. See you next time, folks. Take care.